to Evviva, the podcast about understanding yourself, moving your emotions, and living a vibrant life. This episode of Evviva is all about overwhelm. We'll explore what overwhelm is and what it isn't, why your nervous system has a capacity limit, and what you can do to get your sparkle back. I'll also share some of my favorite techniques and ideas for calming the farm and becoming hopefully more whelmed rather than overwhelmed. But first, a confession. Today I had an overwhelming desire to punch a man in the dick. Call it menopausal overwhelm, call it a justifiable reaction to his man-spreading on the bus, and a distinct disregard for personal hygiene. Call it whatever you like. But I was overwhelmed and my nervous system reacted accordingly by going into sympathetic fight mode and imaginary dick punches. Obviously, I didn't do it. That would be rude. And I'm not a complete asshole. I know that it was an overreaction by my little overwhelmed nervous system to a relatively minor stressor, so I took steps to calm the farm with a handy little breathing technique that I'll teach you later on. But just quietly to my fellow perimenopausal and menopausal ladies out there, imaginary dick punches are incredibly satisfying. Give it a go. I'm overwhelmed seems to be the catchphrase for most of my female clients in their 40s and 50s. We know that the decline in estrogen during menopause makes women less resilient to stress. But I also hear the same complaint from men. So what the fuck is going on? Why are we all so overwhelmed? That's what I'm going to answer in today's podcast, and I'm hopefully also going to leave you with some ideas for how to calm the farm when you feel overwhelmed. So firstly, what is overwhelm? Think of overwhelm as overload. Your nervous system has reached and surpassed coping capacity. Overwhelm is an emotional and nervous system breakdown when the stress is greater than your capacity to cope. So what causes it? Too much, too fast, too long, takes you into overload and overwhelm. Overwhelm might be due to chronic stress, for example, doing a really, really intense job for too long. It might be that you've got too many competing demands, work, your phone going off all the time, children, having to deal with something in your relationship, aging unwell parents. Could be a big life experience like getting married or divorced or the death of a loved one. Or simply even just sensory overload. Roadwork, sirens, chemical smells. You've got multiple stressors competing for your energy, time, and your cognitive capacity. I actually really love this quote by meditation master, scientist, writer, and professor of medicine at the University of Massachusetts Medical School, Jon Kabat-Zinn. Overwhelm is the feeling that our lives are somehow unfolding faster than the human nervous system and psyche are able to manage well. So what are the emotional symptoms of overwhelm? Here are a few. Feeling like you've got too much to do and won't be able to get it all done. Feeling powerless, unable to deal with the situation. Having a reaction that is way out of proportion to the stimulus, like me on the bus this morning. Bursting into tears for no reason. Feeling angry, anxious, withdrawing socially. But also your brain might feel like it stopped working and you can't focus, or it's really hard to make decisions. So you've got task paralysis. Which one do I start first? So what is the difference between stress and overwhelm? Well, most of us think that stress is a bad thing, but it is neither way. Stress is neither good nor bad. It is simply your body's reaction, physical or psychological, to a stressor, which could be a change, a challenge, or a demand. And that stressor could be either internal or external. So an internal stressor could be suddenly becoming aware of your stomach rumbling and going, oh crap, I need to go and get some lunch. Or it could be something external like your alarm bell going off and going, oh, I've got to get out of bed. So your stress response merely prepares you to meet the demands of that stressor. And it could be a good one, like, I don't know, packing to go on holiday. But stress becomes perceived as negative when the stressor is outside our capacity to cope. It's either too much, too fast, or it lingers too long, which is what we call chronic stress. And overwhelm is the emotional and nervous system breakdown when the stress is greater than your capacity to deal with it. I'm often asked, is overwhelm the same as anxiety? No. Anxiety is an internal state of worrying, usually about something in the future. It's about a fear of failure, not being liked, doing something wrong, something like that. Whereas overwhelm is in response to demands on your time, energy, your resources, your money, or your cognitive capacity, your ability to think and process. And it's usually from external stressors like a massive to-do list or sensory overwhelm. So why can't you think clearly when you're overwhelmed? To answer this, we need to take a little look at your autonomic nervous system and the 5 strategies it has to keep you safe in the face of a stressor. So whether the stressor is internal, as in pain in your stomach or your heart racing, or external, like a bushfire, your nervous system is going to assess that threat coming in through your senses, and it's going to predict outcomes based on your historical interactions with similar stressors in similar contexts. And it's going to set things in motion before you've even actually become cognitively aware that there's a danger. So broadly speaking, we all have 5 options. There's action, fight or flight, or withdrawal and shut down. We call them collapse, freeze, fawn. In all of these circumstances, your prefrontal cortex activity is greatly reduced because you don't need to think or rationalize or plan or make complex decisions when you're faced with a bushfire. You just need to get the hell out of there fast. So we can blame our ancestors for this. Those whose prefrontal cortex shut down in the face of such stresses were the ones that survived, and we evolved from them. Whereas the ones who sat around debating the pros and cons, they were the ones who sadly perished. So if you are in a state of overwhelm and your brain goes foggy, you're finding it hard to make decisions or plans or maybe even verbalize your experience, it's because that pesky prefrontal cortex is offline. And there's stuff that you can do to calm down and get it back online. And I'll be telling you about that at the end of this podcast. Another question I get is overwhelm an emotion? Technically, no. It's more like you have multiple emotions trying to surface at the same time. For example, irritation, frustration, or anxiety and fear. So why does overwhelm sometimes make me angry? It can be because your nervous system has picked fight, a sympathetic nervous system response, as the most apt strategy for dealing with the stresses in that particular moment, in that context. Can hormones make overwhelm worse? Yes. Ladies, have you noticed feeling less able to cope with stress in the week before your period? Well, that's because your estrogen and progesterone have naturally dipped at this part in your cycle. Estrogen is a mood booster and it calms the parts of the brain responsible for the fear or stress response. And progesterone is the hormone that makes us feel calm and it's like, oh, I got this. So now imagine that those hormones have momentarily dipped, like the week before your period, or they're slowly depleting, as in perimenopause, or they've just completely left the building in actual menopause. So you're going to feel less resistant to emotional and psychological stress. For example, difficult people at work, people being assholes, people not wearing deodorant on the bus, just saying. And you're more likely to succumb to overwhelm. Are neurodivergent people more likely to feel overwhelmed? Yes, sadly. Neurodivergent people are predisposed to sensory overload, and energy drain from masking, and cognitive overload from context switching that's required in a neurotypical environment. Clients with ADHD will often describe to me something like having 100 tabs open in their brain. So this adds to those elements that I've listed above, and it's a surefire recipe for overwhelm. So now, on to the good news. What helps calm overwhelm quickly? My number one tip, reduce sensory input. So whichever sense that you're being overwhelmed in, if it's sound, get away somewhere quiet. If it's smell, get away from the smell. Take yourself away from the noise, the sights, the odors, the textures that are distressing you. Take yourself somewhere soothing. Tip number 2, breathe. The best thing for it. Let's try the physiological sigh. I've probably done this many times in many other podcasts. All we're going to do is sniff in twice through our nose. So sniff in, hold, sniff in again, and then a long exhale through our mouth. So please do it with me now. And again. Sniff in, hold, sniff in again. Feel ribcage expand even more. Now open your mouth and a long exhale through your mouth. One more time together. The reason why this such a simple thing is so good is because it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, calming you down. And that double inhale and the long exhale also helps to regulate your carbon dioxide oxygen levels, helping you feel calmer, which is really important because when we go into heightened state, we're often shallow breathing and breathing really, really fast. So it kind of stops that stressful, shallow breathing in its tracks. Number 3, ground yourself. And grounding simply means bringing your brain's awareness to the floor beneath you. I particularly like this toe grounding exercise because you can do it anywhere. No one even knows what you're doing. You could be doing it sitting down on the bus. You could be doing it standing up. I'm standing right now and I'm doing it. All I want you to do is become aware of your toes. So perhaps wiggle them for a second. Even if you're wearing shoes, I'm wearing shoes. Wiggle your toes just to get them moving, get some blood pumping, and then just come to a pause. Let your toes relax. And what we're going to do is we're going to synchronize movement and breath. Let's spread your toes, forgetting the breathing for a minute. Just spread your toes as far as you can. They're going to come off the floor of your shoes or off the floor, and then exhale and let them flop, melt back down again. And this time we'll breathe with it. So as you spread your toes as far as apart as you can, inhale through your nose, and then as you exhale, let those toes flop. We'll do it one more time together. Breathing in, spreading your toes as far apart as you can. And then opening your jaw, sighing out through your mouth, letting those toes relax back down to the ground. And just notice how you're feeling. We just grounded you. Tip number 4, allow yourself to stim. If you're a neurodivergent person and this is your nervous system's favorite way of coping with stress, do whatever it is. Fiddle, rock, sway, pace, whatever your favorite flavor is, do it. I know we've all had at times horrible messaging like sit still, don't do that, that's embarrassing, blah, blah, blah. We'll just mentally tell those people to fuck off. Do whatever it is that your nervous system has found as a way of down-regulating. So what about longer term strategies for minimizing overwhelm? Okay, here's my big one. Just do one thing. If you're really overwhelmed and you've got all of these things on your plate and you're like, I don't know which one to do, well, then it doesn't really matter, does it? If they'll all feel equally pressing, just do one. And kind of an associated tip, shorten your to-do lists. Humans are generally over-optimistic about how much you can achieve in one day, me included. So you might have 10 things on your list, but you're not going to get them all done today, not realistically. And that's normal because you're not a robot, you're a human. So please be gentle with yourself. Speak kindly to yourself about how much you can actually get done in one day. And also, fuck cleaning. Take cleaning off your list right now. Life is way too short for that shit. My next tip, prioritize downtime and sleep. I've banged on about this so many times about the importance of sleep, play, and rest, and not just lying down on the couch rest, but could be social rest, could be sensory rest. All of this is central to maintaining good emotional and mental health as well as your physical health. And life is about balance, so please remember to have fun. If you're doing a massive job, you need to play hard as well. And if you only remember one thing from this podcast, please remember this quote by researcher Stuart Brown. The opposite of play is not work. The opposite of play is depression. Another tip, break up with your phone, at least for a few hours. Reduce the stimulation and allow your brain to rest or be captivated by life around you. Now, it's not easy. I recognize that. So there are apps that you can get on your phone, which are free usually. I find them too easy to kind of unblock. So I've got a device called a brick, and I'm just going to tell you I have no association with them whatsoever. I'm just telling you what I'm using. So it's called a brick, and basically you program your app to say, I want to be able to not use these apps. So like, let's just say social media between certain time frames, and then it would automatically block you. And to unblock yourself, you have to walk to where you have put that brick, if you can actually find it, and tap it. And I think you get so many free taps or unblocks. But otherwise, this magical thing happens. So the other day I was just watching TV and I somehow picked up my phone and somehow started going into social media. And as I open it up, you get this grey screen. It says, you've been bricked. Back to life. And I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. But just shows you how unconscious the desire is to flick into those things for some kind of stimulation. So use technology for good and not evil. Use your annual leave. Don't wait until you're sick to take a break. Be more like the French. They take mostly the whole of August off. Make an analog dopamine drawer. Somebody told me that they have a dopamine drawer in their house, and it's all for sorts of analog activities that they like to do to keep themselves entertained. So you could have stuff, anything in there from, I don't know, puzzles, crochet, knitting, books, journals, painting. At the moment, I'm doing a painting by numbers of a guinea pig because they're awesome. Whatever would stimulate you, whatever would make you happy. Play makes us happier and have a more positive outlook on life. And remember above, the opposite of play is not work. The opposite of play is depression. So let's get undepressed. Let's go play more. Move your body. That's my next tip. Movement not only improves your physical health, as we all know, it's all banged on about, blah, 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 but it also improves your mental health by releasing antidepressant substances called myokines. And science boards have called these things hope molecules because they make you happy. So all you have to do is repeatedly contract and release muscles. I'm immediately, because I'm English, I'm immediately thinking of someone picking up a stout pint and taking it to and from their mouth, that repeated muscle contraction there. I don't think that entirely works. I think it needs to be like proper exercise. But myokines are protein communication molecules that are secreted from this repetitive muscle contraction, and they positively influence mood, thinking, and sleep. Hooray! And it's even better if you get to a real live movement class with other humans instead of doing it from YouTube. Because studies show that when we move in sync with other humans, we get this release of uplifting endorphins and endocannabinoids. So endorphins are peptides that exist in your brain, and they are natural painkillers, mood elevators, and they promote social bonding. And endocannabinoids are neurotransmitters that maintain balance in the body. They help with your mood, your sleep, pain, and immune response. So you're going to feel better just from moving with other people. And dancing in particular has this wonderful impact on your mental health. Whether you're dancing in your kitchen, whether you're dancing in a class, Dancing with others triggers the release of endorphins, which we've already talked about, but also oxytocin and dopamine, which is going to mean an improved mood. It's going to reduce your stress, and it's going to make you feel more kind of bonded with those people. So the synchronization of your moves and the physical proximity of those people in this dance class are going to foster connection and belonging. And we all need that because we all are so socially isolated at the moment. So that's all the things I can think of at the moment. Please check in later for more ideas. But until next time, be curious, be kind to your nervous system, and have a wonderful life. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. I have a question for you. How do you want to feel today? Powerful, playful, or present? Download my free guide, Feel Your Va-Va-Voom in 60 seconds, and find out how.